Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Synthetic Native Gaming Podcast, which is a different podcast, but it's the same podcast, but it's a different podcast, with my buddy Chrislovesgames, aka Chris Lingenfelter. I'm not sure how he wants to be introduced, but he's my friend and a pretty good gamer with his own Instagram following. I don't think you don't have like a YouTube or anything set up yet, right? No Twitch yet.
I have a YouTube. It's not fully launched yet. I'm still editing all the videos because I plan on like doing 10 full length gaming highlight videos. So it's taking me a while to edit because I'm a noob at editing.
Cool. And so, okay, we'll go back to you in just a second, but a little bit more background here. This podcast is going to be a little bit more focused on like gaming and esports and those types of topics. And so we're just going to start off by kind of talking about like, okay, here's a good question. Chris, how long have you been gaming? How long have you played video games?
I've been competitively gaming since I was 12 years old.
Okay, but before that even.
Oh, before that, man, seven or eight. I used to play with my dad on the Sega Genesis. We'd play games on that, play Sonic the Hedgehog and all that.
Okay, and so Sonic the Hedgehog is what you remember, because I had the Genesis as well.
That was the very first game that like really, I guess, like hooked me. And yeah, it started from there.
Sweet. Yeah, I think same. I remember playing before that too. What was it, like Nintendo Entertainment System, and like I had a Game Boy Pocket, the big yellow one. It wasn't even really that good of a. It was pretty big for a pocket. Like compare that to some of the mobile devices today, and it's crazy. But
I never got into the Game Boys. I was more like Pokemon, and that was about it. Zelda. Same.
Basically, I couldn't get my grandma to buy me any other games, so
no.
I just played Pokemon a lot. Yeah, and so I actually am a little bit different. Like growing up, I didn't really get into like competitive gaming. I didn't play Counter-Strike competitively. I was like playing Scouts Knives and like just screwing around in like random dust servers. But you played competitively. So talk about like that. What does that mean?
Well, yeah. So the very first league that I joined was Cal. And I don't even think it's not around anymore. It hasn't been around for a very long time. I think it died in 1.6, like towards the end, right before Go came out. And after Cal, I moved into CEVO. And then after CEVO, I moved into ESEA. And I was ESEA Invite and Main for like 4 years. Played Main for 3 and played Invite for 1. And yeah, CEVO, I was CEVO Main. And Cal, I was started as Cal Open. And then moved my way to intermediate and then to main.
I was doing like a little bit of research and reading, and like I don't think that competitive gaming really started popping off like in a big way until close to like 2010, right? Like there was competitive leagues, but it was kind of amateur.
Yeah, it's definitely not like it is now. I mean, you did have teams like team like Complexity, which I'm sure we'll get into later because they're actually kind of a big deal right now, what's coming on in the future. But Complexity was around. This was like, I want to say they were really at the height of their popularity, probably 2006 through 2008, and then they kind of died off. Team 3D, which has one of the, which actually I used to look up to this one guy. He's older than us, like 10 years older than us, but his name was Fraud. And I used to watch all his gameplay videos when I was a kid and mimic his opping. And that's how I became like a really great opper, because I would watch all of his videos and just try to mimic his gameplay. But,
okay, so this is all Counter-Strike, just for context here.
Yes.
It's all Counter-Strike.
This is all Counter-Strike. Because this is the very earliest days. I mean, esports, so we did have a Dota esports scene that was very big in the EU. Not so big in NA, but Counter-Strike really took off in NA.
Which Dota are you talking about? Are you talking about the original Dota?
The original Dota.
Like Warcraft mod Dota?
Yeah.
Okay, that's crazy to me to even think that kind of a mod in Warcraft had a competitive scene.
Hmm. But I would definitely say that Counter-Strike 1.6 was the opening into esports tourneys, for sure, big time.
Maybe okay. I'm pretty sure there was like Quake, Unreal Tournament type stuff before
Yeah,
then.
yeah, but that wasn't like on the level of, I guess, today's modern version of tournaments. That's the thing. Like Quake tournaments did not resemble like how Counter Strike tournaments in their when they first started. It looked very similar to how the tournaments are now, except they're massive.
Yeah. So, what other games were kind of? I mean, this is another difference between then and now is that there's you could probably name like 5 games at least
Um,
that are have like really big competitive
StarCraft,
community. Well, a lot more when you start thinking about fighting games and stuff. But
yeah,
StarCraft and Counter Strike, really, right?
yeah. I would say. I mean, those are the two that I was the biggest into, and I know they had the biggest following for a very long time was Counter Strike and then StarCraft. StarCraft actually has fucking died, which is kind of sad, but it's a hard game to watch. It's a hard game to get into because the skill cap is super, super high.
Yeah, it's like if you know what's going on, it's you can be impressed by it.
Yeah, it's hard if you're like, because think of games like Counter Strike, you get the point. CT versus T, you have a bomb and you got to kill people. Like it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to be like an expert to really be entertained or know what's
Yeah,
going on. Same with Overwatch, it's kill people, take points is pretty straightforward. But
yeah,
uh with StarCraft, I mean, there's so many things going on, and you're switching that around to like 10 different units, and these people have attacks per minute or actions per minute of like 350 actions per minute. So it's really hard to follow, the pro tournaments because they're just so quick and there's so much going on.
yeah. I think that's. I mean, we can skip around here. So I guess like
Yeah, sorry.
no problem. I mean, like I think one of the cool things about Overwatch is that they've clearly designed it from the ground up to be something that is both entertaining to watch, but also has a lot of depth. So like a Genji player, I mean, you can watch and not be good at Genji or understand Genji to know that like this dude pulling out his sword and like killing everyone is
Hmm.
impressive, right?
Yeah.
It's not like watching someone manage like all these tiny RTS units and like clicking all around the map like a, that's only cool if you have tried to do it before and understand how difficult it is.
Unless they're playing it with the Zarya, then it's very easy.
With Zarya.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I actually recorded a video about this. I don't think it's gone up, but I was talking about tech that I'm excited about in 2018 and like 2019 and coming up. And esports was one of the things I was talking about. And I'm excited because of games like Overwatch and Dota and League that are kind of being designed from the ground up to be fun to watch. I mean, do you think that I'm not that into League? I'm actually not that into MOBAs. I probably am more into HOTS than League, which I think is a much less popular game. But do you think that they are like? Do you think League is a fun game to watch?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you give me some insight into that? What do you like about League?
Um, like I don't know. I guess you have to be a certain RTS fan, but I know a lot of people who like League that don't really play. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what finds it interesting. I mean, it's just like team fights, killing people. There's not like too much going on. Like it's an RTS, unlike StarCraft, where you have like a million different things going on. And here you still have a lot going on, but it's manageable. Like you can focus and wrap your mind around it if you're not someone who's like used to the game. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, what I find the most appealing about is the combat. Like I love the combat in League of Legends. That's why I play ADC because I like you know having to play safe, but also having to be aggressive and having to manage your distance and attack moving. And but yeah, it's just seeing like those cool plays and watching the coordination between junglers and laners and how they gank, and it's just I find it really interesting. And I think that's why
Yeah.
they've maintained the top spot in esports and just in like gaming viewership in general for what, like how long has it been, like since 2012, 2013?
Yeah, they came at like a really opportune time. They
Yeah.
like They came right as MOBAs kind of emerged, which is a really cool, when I think about new, it's not that often that new gaming, like video game genres come out. I think that MOBA is probably one of the more recent ones, and they came out right like at the perfect time and beat out Heroes of New Earth. And it's kind of like when EverQuest 2 and WoW came out, and WoW just like totally stomped on it because it did certain things right. And I think that's what happened with LoL. Um, and I guess like a newer genre that might be considered like a new gaming genre maybe is like Battle Royale. Or is that just getting hyped up now? Because I think there were games somewhat similar to that before, or no?
I mean, yeah, but not really like super esports. Like you had H1Z1 that was out before that, and I mean the what was the other mod that kind of started all this DayZ mod,
Mm-hmm.
which was an Arma mod, and I don't know. I had high hopes for PUBG. Like I played PUBG. I was top 500 player, and I just don't see as of right now. If we were to take the game right now, because we're really pushing an esports game, I just don't see it being entertaining for one. I don't think it's a. I don't think it really measures skill because there's still like a lot of RNG involved. And say you take two equal skilled teams, and it basically could come down to the RNG of finding a weapon, the RNG of red zone, um, just the probability of like getting a drop or finding enough meds. It's there's so much RNG involved in the game that I don't see being a reliable esports.
That's really interesting that you bring up RNG because I've actually been thinking about that, and I think that one of the cool parts about the potential of video, like a game I really like, is Magic the Gathering. I love that game. I think it's an amazing game, and one of the hallmarks of the game is that it is a card game. You shuffle the deck, and you don't know like what you're going to draw, but you build your deck in such a way that you try to add redundancy to your deck. You try to smooth it out. You construct your deck so that RNG doesn't matter as much.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have that random element of like these really close games where two equally skilled players are very close and they're just drawing cards off the top of their deck and then managing their resources, and they're fighting against the RNG, and that's what separates a good player from a great player. And I'm wondering what room there is for that in
So I would say
esports.
maybe a tiny bit, but if we're taking a sport, seriously. So here, let me just speak about Magic the Gathering quick. It's turn based. So each turn you have a chance to come back. The thing is with these, like especially PUBG, you get one life. That's it.
Yeah,
You don't get a turn to, figure it out and the next turn and the next turn, which kind of like lowers the probability of just getting, totally demolished, which it can still happen, but it lowers that probability. Now in PUBG, if say because right now what are they doing, like a 7 to 18 tournament, something like that, and the curse tournament was the most recent one, which was horrible to watch. Oh god, it was awful. And uh say you all land in one city,
mm-hmm.
two teams who are probably like the best teams have equal skill, they both land in the same building, one person finds a gun, one person doesn't, end of that team. Even though they could realistically skill wise, like in shooting and strategy, could be the best, they lose because they didn't find a gun. And that's it. You don't get next round. That's it. You're eliminated. And so, and the thing is also you could do, I guess, like a round robin type of style where you get certain amount, like each you play a certain amount of games to where you kind of like decrease the chance of that happening, and the best teams will still rise to the top. But it takes so long, and the games are so, it's really boring to watch. It's really boring to watch the tournament style because a lot of it's over the head. And there can be like three different fights going on at the map. You can't watch them all, especially if you're a caster. That game is impossible to cast. It's impossible. Like I just don't see how they do it. And
That's
it's not,
funny.
yeah, but the thing PUBG has going for it, it's an entertaining game to watch with streamers. One
Yeah,
person playing. It's entertaining
yeah,
to watch. It's a fun game. Like this is probably one of the most fun I've had playing a game that's still competitive, but not, I don't think is going to be taken seriously as like an esport. But
yeah.
you never know. I mean, there could be other game modes that they could do. I'm just saying right now, it's not looking good. And if you
Yeah.
saw that Curse tournament, it was terrible. It was so bad.
Curse is like the gaming company, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, playing the game, I remember when I fired it up for well, I remember seeing other people playing it and thinking, oh, that looks pretty cool. And then I remember firing it up and playing it and being like, wow, this is such a cool concept.
Mhm.
And then I remember lots and lots and lots of games where you'd be kind of like scavenging around for a long time and then just die really quickly. And I'm not saying that makes it like a horrible game by itself, but I mean, that is a valid strategy, right? Is kind of avoiding contact with people.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
which is
it might not lend itself to esports, maybe. I don't know.
which when it comes to, I guess, PUBG, like, yeah, that's probably the best strategy you have if you want to play into the late game and really just come down to skill. Is you want to try to land away from where you think people are going to go, so you can loot, not have to worry about the RNG of finding a gun and someone else finding one. But the thing is there's, I mean, how many people were in this tournament? 50 people, and it's really like once you make a decision to land somewhere, it's really hard to like revert. You
Mhm.
either have to go and fight it out, or hopefully just get away, find a car, and maybe go to a different city. But the thing is it's a there's just too much RNG right now. Like there's just too much RNG. And
Yeah.
the blue zone. Another thing about the blue zone in PUBG is, say you get in a fight, and they're still working out the blue zone. Like a couple of these latest patches, they've been trying to like fix the speed, the damage, and trying to figure out, I guess, like a good balance for it,
Mhm.
because they want to keep the game going. They don't want people just sitting on the outside and avoiding contact. They want to keep the game going, which makes sense, you know. But
Mhm.
the thing is, with the blue zone, you can be fighting someone, and the blue will pass you when you're fighting someone, and you have zero chance to catch up, and you'll end up dying.
Yeah.
But the thing is if you run, the people behind you will just kill you.
Yeah.
But if you choose to fight, the blue will kill you. Or maybe you'll get lucky and you'll get a ton of meds and you'll be able to run it out. But then it becomes running simulator, and that's
Yeah.
really boring. And they make the terrain very hard, especially the new map. The terrain is impossible, and the map is so big. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I just, as of right now, it's not going to be successful as an esport, and a lot of the popular streamers like Shroud, who's Counter Strike Pro, he even said it's just not esports ready, and that they're actually hurting the game, trying to push it into tournament style already, which I agree. I think that's hurting it. What they should be doing is devoting all their resources to patching and talking to their community and getting input from people like Shroud, who've been in tournaments for the last like 5 to 10 years at the highest level of Counter Strike. And
Yeah. That's it's kind of interesting because gamers can be like a really sensitive bunch. Like they can. I don't always trust. What I'm trying to get at is like with Overwatch. I think a lot of times you hear a lot of noise coming from people who are saying that the game isn't balanced when in fact they just don't like how it feels when something happens. Like
mhm,
you've got like Mercy, right? And they obviously overpowered her for a long time, but I think that some people still think she's overpowered, for example, because she has this resurrection ability. But there's a difference there. You just don't like that game mechanic, but that doesn't mean that it's unbalanced. But when it comes to PUBG, it kind of seems really like they have some really serious like design challenges in order to make it like a balanced game.
mhm.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is it does seem like a lot of those complaints coming from the community are
Are you talking
valid
about?
and need to be listened to.
Are you talking about like more towards Oh, definitely towards PUBG. Overwatch, I feel like it's pretty balanced. I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty balanced. You have the option to choose the same exact team comp,
Yeah.
and it's not like like in League of Legends where you can't choose the same characters. Once a character's chosen, the other team can't choose it. But the thing is there's so many characters to choose from
Yeah.
that it's going to be pretty hard to get just totally screwed team composition wise, because you
Yeah.
can still build your team around what you see they pick, and because there's such a big champion pool. But I would say the biggest pitfall for Overwatch right now, which will be fixed in time, is that there's not enough variety. and so you're kind of limited into this meta that's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, you still have some choices, and it's about switching and going with the flow of the game and seeing what the other team picks. But
Right, and I
I
don't
think in
think that
time it won't be an issue.
yeah, I don't think that the Overwatch design team's goal, for example, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but other people seem to think this, especially casual players. Um, I don't think that their goal is to have every character be kind of always pickable. I think they want every character to at least be pickable in some situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like Symmetra, obviously, I think is probably the character that's in the worst place because realistically, like people pick May sometimes, people even pick Torbjorn sometimes. Those pick rates could go up maybe, but at least they get played.
Yeah.
Whereas Symmetra just doesn't get picked, and so I don't think that they like that level. But I don't think that they want it to be like you're picking every type of utility character everywhere, right?
Yeah, I would say May is probably not too bad of a pick because she has her projectile right click, which if you're good at aiming, you can two shot people easy.
Yeah, you can nug people with that.
Yeah, like I've actually used May to pick off widows before, like in high level, and she
Mm-hmm.
has the utility of like when people jump in to freeze them and wall people off. She has a lot of utility. That's why I think like you see a lot of the Korean players play May, and um, yeah, the thing with Symmetra though is she has man, she's just like she's she's broken champ. She's not good. Like anywhere in the high level, she's gonna get dunked on. Low levels you could get away because her right click does so much damage and no one can aim. Um,
Yeah.
but she doesn't really bring much to the table because if you take her, you're losing you're losing a good consistent DPS to get a teleporter or a shield, which theoretically, if you're playing right, you shouldn't need either.
Yeah.
That's like worst case fucking scenario. So you're basically playing her knowing that you're going to be in this worst case scenario, and to hope you can stall the game out or maybe pull off like a cheesy win. But I would say that she has to be one of the lowest like what win rate champions, right? I would assume.
Well, I think in Overwatch League, I think she just isn't picked. So,
Yeah, I
and
mean she
that's
doesn't
it,
bring anything to the table really.
yeah. She doesn't seem like a character. Like there's certain characters like Anna, whose mechanics are great. She just needed like they bumped her up 10 damage and it made a huge difference. But they just need to tweak the numbers on some characters and then they become more viable. But with Symmetra, it's not like you can't just increase the amount of damage her beam does.
I would say her best thing, but it's not even good because they're so easy to kill as her turrets. So I don't know if they can do something to her turrets like have more health, uh,
No cast time.
can actually like be a realistic way to send people into a choke or to wall off a choke or to at least give you that back measure of I'm not going to get flanked by a tracer because the turrets are here and it's going to take them a minute to kill them. And
Yeah.
but the thing is you can literally just go in and clear them like all in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like it's really not hard. And
Yeah.
you know I guess I would also say this person who needs more work is Torbjorn as well, especially with dive comp now. Like right now, the burst from Diva and the burst from Winston, if they coordinate a jump together, they'll just knock his turret out in one shot,
Mm-hmm.
which is the whole point of Torbjorn. Like, yeah, if you're decent, you can still land some like projectile shots and like shoddy shots, but it's not enough like DPS to and getting your turret back online on top of it is nearly impossible if it's a good team.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Torbjorn's probably like I don't think that he needs like a rework. I think they probably just need to like
I think
I
they
don't
need a
know.
buff is I think they need to either increase the health on the turret or increase the penetration on shields on the turret.
Yeah.
Because right now, like maybe increase the amount of damage it does to shields.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe make it where defense matrix doesn't block it. I mean, I don't know. That's all just like
Yeah.
theory. I don't know how it actually work. But he
Yeah.
definitely needs something because you have to be a god fucking Torb to be able to play him at higher
Mm-hmm.
levels. Like you just have to be
Mm-hmm.
really good.
Yeah. I remember for a while he was seeing like pretty significant pro play with kind of putting barriers around his turret and stuff, and I thought that was cool. And I don't know how much that's happening now, but he strikes me as a character that can still be viable.
Yeah.
Let's kind of zoom out for a second with Overwatch League. There's some cool things about it I want to talk about. Like, I don't think that it's ever been done before where you've had esports teams centered around cities. And the problem with this is that obviously these people are not really like in these cities is the big thing that people are like, oh, what does it have to do with Houston? They're not in Houston. But I think that the plan, they're kind of keeping some of this like it's not on the website. You can't just go and read the FAQ. But I think that the plan was eventually to have it so that if you live in Houston, you can go watch the Houston Outlaws play.
Yeah,
I think,
I'm sure that's
but it's not like that yet.
I'm pretty sure that's their future plan because they were talking with Jerry Jones, which is kind of going more to the future of esports, but I'll touch on it a little bit. Is so Jerry Jones actually bought out Complexity, the Dota team, and he moved them to Dallas basically, or Fort Worth actually, and they're training in Fort Worth. Like they're all based. They're going to have like a whole training facility there. They're going to like be building like what is it? They're doing a lot of stuff there. Like they're going to do a lot of the recruiting out of Fort Worth now, and I think the goal is to actually bring you know the team there to play there so people can watch in Fort Worth in the Dallas area. And that I'm pretty sure they were actually in talks with Blizzard on owning or becoming partners or buying a team or something and becoming affiliated with them. I don't know
Yeah,
what's going on with that. I'm sure they're still in the talks about it. They haven't really released any information on it, but it's not going to surprise me, and I think it's such a great idea because the growth is the fastest. It's the growth for esports is faster than any other sport ever.
yeah,
Basketball,
wow,
soccer, football, any sport. It's the biggest, like the
yeah,
fastest growing. Sorry, not the biggest.
yeah.
But
Well, I mean, how would you measure kind of the growth of basketball from when it started? Right. I'm sure you can. I'm sure there are ways to do it, but obviously they came. That stuff. It seems like ancient times now. Like that stuff came up, over the past century or
yeah,
whatever, and
think
now
about
we live in viral times.
yeah. Think it took about what 100 years for basketball to really like come up, or not 100 years, probably more like 70 years, right?
Yeah.
Closer to 70 years for basketball to get to where it is now. We're talking about a span of maybe 10, maybe, and I would honestly
Yeah.
say I would argue 5, really, since esports
Yeah.
have really been being taken seriously. Because what they
Yeah.
players didn't even get contracts until 2012, 13, something around there. 2000 or 2014 maybe. Players didn't
Yeah.
start getting contracts, like salary contracts, to where they could live and do this. And
Yeah.
now it's that way. And this is all taking place in maybe a decade. And with the
Yeah.
growth projections, it's supposed to be one of the biggest sports in the world. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of potential here for, to have city-based teams, and I think our generation, like the baby boomers are dying off. Our generation's all about online stuff, uh, DreamHack and the Counter Strike tournaments pull 1 million viewers
Yeah.
just on Twitch. That's not including any other type of viewing, and I mean that's a lot. And that's
Yeah.
just in like a very short period of time. And if they start actually marketing this, like if you start seeing this on TV, if you start going to the movies and seeing trailers for this shit, if you start seeing billboards everywhere you go, ads on your computer, I mean, just imagine like the amount of I guess like saturation they could get.
Yeah. And I think a cool thing about something I've noticed with Overwatch, and I've noticed it with League of Legends to a lesser extent, but it could just be my anecdotal experience. I've seen a lot of women getting into like Overwatch, like, and obviously there's some controversy over the fact that actually I think there's about to be the first pro woman Overwatch player, Gaguri Zarya main, and she is good. I have watched her before. But that aside, just in terms of like viewership, there's a lot of girls that really like Overwatch.
Oh yeah. And
I'm not saying no girls like anything else, but a lot of them like Overwatch.
yeah, League of Legends too. League of Legends is huge for girl gamers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it's like I don't know why. Maybe it's the art style. I don't know. Who knows? I know my personal relationship. She's attracted to Overwatch and League of Legends. not because of the gameplay, but because of the way the cartoons look, the anime, the anime-ish looking characters. And I know that's a big thing for her, and she actually wants to start gaming now because of that. Which
I think they were designed. I mean, definitely Overwatch. I think League too. Over time, they've focused on this more, but definitely Overwatch. They've designed the characters from the ground up. Not to just be appealing across gender, but also what's it called? Like across nationality, you've got these characters. So they designed it, from the ground up to kind of be this like international thing, which is really cool. And some of the design decisions they've made to make it a more watchable game, like giving the different teams their own colors, and then those, like, you've got like Zarya Beam, where if you're a green team, like everything is or Zarya Grab is green. Like that's so cool to me.
yeah. And one thing I think is like also why it's becoming more popular maybe among girls is like now think of like the people who game now and the way it used to be, I guess, like people who would game all the time. Like there were basement dwellers basically. Not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but the stereotypical, I mean, we all knew this person in school, the stereotypical like person who would just be gaming all day and they're just kind of fucking weird and losers. And
Yeah.
but now it's becoming like the cool thing to do. I mean, go look on Twitch. How many like hot chicks were on Twitch like 10 years ago? None. You can't. Now there's like porn stars and shit. Like Snoop Dogg's on fucking Twitch. Like what the fuck? Deadmau5 is on Twitch. Like I mean, it's cool now. It's like it's the cool thing to do. People want to do it, but that's because our generation is starting to take over, and we're more connected into the gaming, and we just like it more. I mean, I think it has more to offer than actual physical sports do.
Yeah.
Not saying there isn't a place for both, but I think it allows everyone a fighting chance to be good, no matter what your physical stature is. And
Yeah. I love it. I think there are some questions to be raised about traditional sports. Like I don't think that they should go. I'm not like ban traditional sports, except I am. But when you see these injuries happening to NFL players, like I know that not every sport is as injurious as that, but I mean it does raise some real questions about like is it worth the traumatic brain injury for us to have like our sports ball, our big game?
My thing is if like basically, let's say you're recruiting college kids and you're like, hey, you want to join our team? We'll sign you for like $1 million. You need to at least be like, hey, but there's a possibility you could have like brain damage in the next 20 years, 30 years. And be like, if you still want to sign on, you can. But as long as you like tell them like the realistic, problems that could happen, and they still decide to sign on, that's their choice, and I'm willing to watch them knock each other out. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of okay with it in a sense if things are like transparent and everybody's aware of it. And
but I know that. Sorry.
But well, I was just going to say that I know that the NFL also structures, or at least they used to structure their contracts and stuff in a way that like you don't get the NFL like long-term health insurance unless you play for like 3.5 years or so. I don't forgot what it was. And I don't know how you play half a year, some amount of years. And then if you, a lot of times they'll cut players when they're about to reach that threshold. And then, you could have brain injuries, but you don't get the NFL insurance. You made a couple $1,000,000, but you don't have any other career. And like, that's not going to last you forever, probably, unless you just live like a pauper. So.
Yeah, I mean, think if you make like 5 million in what 2 years, 3 years, that's more than a lot of people make in 30 years. Let's be honest, that's a lot more. So I mean, if you're not an idiot, but the thing is a lot of these people who are in the NFL are horrible at controlling their finances because it's they're a lot of them are straight out of college. They're getting paid insane amounts of money, but they're also having to keep up with the lifestyle of insane amounts of money.
Yeah.
And but yeah, anyways, I was saying like also another bad thing with the NFL, which was not good, is they covered up a lot of their concussion like medical research and all that. Like they're basically downplaying how many people were actually dealing with these issues when it's actually a pretty significant amount of people. But yeah, anyways, you don't have to worry about that with esports, which is good. You don't have to worry about all the maybe carpal tunnel, but
that's a far cry from
that's
CTE.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah,
Maybe like a blurry vision after you've been staring at the screen too long.
yeah. So pretty excited about Overwatch League. So let's talk a little bit about the toxicity because I know that we've both experienced it, probably on both sides. And my personal experience is that I've experienced a lot of toxicity in Overwatch, but as of late, it seems like the drilling and drilling and drilling by the community and some of the changes that Blizzard has done finally has maybe started to take some effect because the last like like binges that I've done of Overwatch, there's been very little people one tricking. Now that's completely anecdotal, but it seemed to get maybe a little bit better. I think everybody's kind of sick and tired of the shit.
Um, yeah, I don't know how you honestly fix this problem because you got to think
Mhm.
you have if you're solo queuing now, if you're queuing with like 3 to 4 people, which let's be honest, it's not easy to do that every day. Um,
Yeah,
and it's hard enough just to get a duo, a consistent one. But
yeah,
anyways, you have 6 people, all with different personalities, different backgrounds, different ways of how they would play the game. And you got to take in mind that there's a high probability that 5 out of 6 are completely wrong on what they think should be happening or what the pick should be, and then you have the arguments and it leads to just a really bad, especially with voice chat. It's like League of Legends with voice chat. I've said this to you before. It's League of Legends with voice chat. If you ever look at the chat of League of Legends and like solo queue games, and if you're at the slightest disadvantage, people just start freaking the fuck out and they act like little babies. But Overwatch is like you can actually talk to these people now. Like you're having a verbal discussion with them, and it's exactly the same except you have people like screaming. And the thing is you can ignore typing. But when someone's
yeah,
like in the mic and it's team game and it's like highly integrated, because in League of Legends you have your separate lanes, it's still a little bit integrated, but you really don't need the voice commands to like push through. But with Overwatch, you need it. It's just that simple. You need to be able to make accurate call outs. And the thing is, when people start shit talking right off the fucking bat because someone, picked a Widowmaker or a Hanzo, even though Hanzo's really fucking good if you're good with him. But yeah, it can just be, it's just it could be it's probably one of the worst community experiences I've ever had.
I agree. I also haven't been involved in that many competitive communities, so it's like I don't know. I know that I've experienced negative things in some MOBAs, but not to the same level with the voice chat.
I would say
Um, I was gonna say like it was something really interesting. Like one of the most frustrating phenomena I've run into is the self fulfilling prophecy of game tilting in Overwatch. Which, for example, I'll be doing like I'll play some like deathmatch games with Hanzo just to warm up, and I'll be absolutely destroying, killing people. So I know that I'm like at least fine with Hanzo, and I pick him on normal maps to pick him on, right? On attack, like a sane person will. And then somebody will be rude about it. And like, I'm not going to lie, sometimes it puts me on tilt. It makes me mad. It makes me play worse. And it just turns into this like feel bad experience where like I can't play the character that I want to. It doesn't matter if I heal 10 games in a row. If I heal 10 games in a row and then I pick the Hanzo, somebody is going to complain. And it's just a really negative experience.
yeah. I would say
Well, and then the way
when
to
you get
avoid it is you have
higher,
to.
it gets better. I honestly I would say the most toxic area of rank is when you hit plat to low diamond.
Yeah,
That is the worst group of people because you have the people that probably you have the people that are good and they're going to keep ranking up, but then you have the majority of them, probably 80% of the people in that rank, are going to stay there or they're going to D rank. And but they all have this mindset of like I'm a fucking GM player,
yeah,
and even though I have a 30% win ratio with McCree and like 15% accuracy, and it's like it's not going to happen. It's not in the stars for you. If you can't at least get like a 60% accuracy on McCree, it's going to be a really rough time getting up into GM.
yeah.
And especially
Well,
solo queue. Like I did solo queue, nothing but soldier last season, and it was a fucking grind just playing by myself. Working the biggest grind for me was the high plat through low diamond. But once I passed that low diamond, I was able to get up in the high diamond to low masters, and it was just a pain in the fucking ass.
Yeah. What your Overwatch has been saying recently, which is a great Overwatch channel. I really like their stuff. They've been saying, I forgot who it is. I think his name is Liam or Weagle. And he's been saying like he actually has D rank down to diamond just to play with his friends, and his games he's six stacks with his friends, and his game qualities has gone way up because he gets to play actual Overwatch now. Like win or lose, he's with his friends and they're coordinating, and maybe they're not all as skilled as him, but they get to play real games.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's something that's frustrated people since Overwatch League has come out is they've seen these like real games that are happening in front of their face with Houston and Korea, and they're frustrated that they don't get to have those games in matchmaking.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have, like, if you're playing solo queue, you're just not going to have like a tournament level gameplay. It's not going to happen. And you got to think, like, even for someone like I would consider myself like a really good player, but I'm not playing at a top 500 level because I don't play Overwatch enough, and I'm just not that good at Overwatch compared to these tournament level top 500 people. And everybody in the tournaments are top 500 players, like in the world.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is there's even top 500 players who aren't tournament level good. They're not on teams. They're not going to get signed and probably never will get signed.
Yeah, because there's a lot of top 500 players out there and only so many teams.
Yeah.
There's 500 of them, to be exact.
Now, when, esports expands, probably a lot of them will get placed, but as of right now, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm a little bit unfamiliar with Overwatch Contenders, but apparently it's like a feeder league for Overwatch League, and so I think a lot of people will find at least they'll get to compete in Contenders if they don't get signed to Overwatch League. Mm-hmm. But that's a lot of foresight for Blizzard to actually set up the feeder league in addition, because I could see them just setting up Overwatch League and then kind of using independent things as the feeders, but they're actually setting up the feeder league as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like it's like the minors.
Yeah,
for baseball, you have like single A, double A, triple A, and then you work your way up, and then maybe you'll get pulled up to the big leagues.
Did that happen? Did they have that in? I guess there was some similar like league structure in CS:GO.
Yeah,
at some point.
Yeah, like a lot of teams will get a bunch of like newer players. I mean, even League of Legends will do that, and they'll have them on the roster, but there won't be like active tournament players unless something goes horribly, horribly wrong.
Right.
But they'll basically be in this like part of the team, but they'll play like lower level tournaments type of thing.
Right. Okay, well, I think we're coming up on a good stopping point, but I want you to kind of tell the people where they can find you and what you plan on doing.
Okay. So I plan on actually launching a stream, hopefully by the end of this month or early March, and that will be Twitch Chrislovesgames. But right now I'm active on Instagram at Chrislovesgames, and that's where I post most of my videos, and you can like hit me up there if you want to collab or do anything.
Right, and it's a lot of PUBG right now, but you plan on moving into some Overwatch too, right?
I actually have 2 Overwatch videos I'm going to upload later tonight, and they're really good.
Sweet. So yeah, same here. Actually, this is going to be hopefully a new series of podcasts where we focus a little bit more on esports and gaming, and then I streaming on Twitch at Zodiac Kodiak, and I'll just probably be streaming Overwatch, maybe some Hearthstone or Magic in there too. Yeah, that was fun, Chris. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.